Hello and welcome to another episode of Dude, Is This Thing On? I'm Tyler Daswick, and joining me as always, our producer, Emilio Cariotti.
How's it going, everybody?
Emilio, we have a little bit of a check-in show, a catch-up show for the people today.
Loosey-goosey is the term that we're sticking with.
Loosey-goosey is the term.
This is a loosey-goosey episode.
Loosey-goosey episode. We are going to start with a little bit of talk about the Fallout 76 reviews that have started to come out as of today. It's Tuesday, November 20th, so reviews of the game have started to come out. Is the game out today?
Yeah, I believe so. Here's the funny thing. I kind of figured I'd want to talk about it regardless of how good the game turned out, so I pre-ordered it.
No, dude. Oh,
I haven't even touched it yet. I'm still playing fucking Red Dead. That's how good Red Dead is in comparison to the allure of ever picking up Fallout 76.
Wow. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about Red Dead. You have played a lot more of it than I have.
I've put in some hours. I have put in some. It's like a new job for me.
Yeah.
I took all the frustration of getting fired a month ago and just threw it into Red Dead.
Yeah. I'm still probably. I have several hours to go into the story, so we're going to save kind of like the third part of our Red Dead conversation trilogy for really breaking down the story, but we're going to kind of get continual impressions, spoiler-free impressions for today. And then we're going to end with a little bit of what we've been watching. You've been keeping up on some TV.
Yeah, a little bit.
I've been doing a little bit of the awards movie circuit over in this half of the country. So, yeah, a little bit to catch up on, but...
All right. Do you want to start?
Yeah, so
do you have any questions for me, Tyler, about Fallout 76?
I mean, shit, man, why'd you pre-order it?
Well, because I knew, first off, I'm a huge fucking Fallout fan, and I knew we had this discussion a couple months ago. We knew it wasn't going to be a good game. We had our hopes, but we fucking knew deep down it was going to be a half-ass piece of shit. And surprise, motherfucking surprise, dude. It is a half-ass game. I can't believe Bethesda released that. What the fuck? I haven't played it yet. And now I really don't want to, but I will for the sake of the podcast.
Thanks.
But yeah, you're welcome. It's going to be Far Cry 5 all over again, motherfucker.
Shit.
From what I've seen, it's incredibly fucking easy to just blow through whatever that thing is called. I don't really want to call it a video game. Apparently it's not too hard to reach level cap. I think it's level 50 right now.
Oh, wow.
And
is that it?
Yeah, I think so. It's just, from what I've heard, it is a map devoid of anything fun. Anything from any of the Fallout series that you've ever loved, the memorable NPCs, the crazy little random encounters, just those moments, gone.
Yeah. So here, let's get into. We both kind of read reviews and reactions today.
Scathing reviews. We read scathing reviews.
I didn't expect a good game. I think I expected a competent one.
Yeah, we didn't even get that.
We didn't even get that. I guess, it's funny. You realize Fallout has kind of built up a clout with critics, and everyone went in really hopeful and excited. And every review that you read is everyone kind of has this moment in the writing where they kind of just come back and be like, but I just had to accept that it was a bad game, that it was not a good video game, that it was broken, that it was incomplete. Everyone feels, I don't know if anyone's surprised, but I think everyone is surprised at the level of just incompetence.
I'd say that's where I am too. I wasn't surprised that it was very underwhelming because I was very underwhelmed the entire way leading up to the game, because there were moments where I completely forgot that game was coming out. I completely forgot that I dropped $70 on that game to pre-order it, right? That's a commitment. I completely forgot I made that commitment because this game it's sort of just it was like water vapor. It's just sort of was there, like a cloud.
Yeah.
And when I read the reviews of this is the lowest rated Fallout game ever, and this is including games like Fallout Brotherhood of Steel and Fallout Tactics, the Lost Fallout games from 2002. This is including that. This is including Fallout 4 DLC, which was okay. It wasn't nearly as good as Fallout 3 DLC or Fallout New Vegas DLC. This is one of the lowest rating things that King Bethesda has ever like put out. I heard it's just boring. I heard it's like one of the most boring things you'll play all year. Like, how the fuck does that get released? How does Bethesda, which has like, you know, obviously they some bugs get through, but they have very good quality control. People play. I'm sure people at Bethesda know that they make good video games. There's no way that's a shock to them, right?
Right.
How did the people playing that be like, oh, this is just as good as Fallout 4? What?
Yeah.
Like, how did you convince yourself that that was the case and then release that fucking game?
Yeah, it's hard to imagine the creative thinking that went into it because, okay, you start at the base concept and be like, all right, you have a multiplayer Fallout game. And like, okay, like sounds cool. Like I kind of get like an interactive wasteland. You meet other survivors. You could trade with them. You could, you know, join alliances. You could build things with them, all that stuff. Like that's a cool concept. But the way they executed it, and I think the primary things that still baffle me is there are no NPCs in the game. Like they made this multiplayer mechanic at the expense of NPCs, at the expense of a true interactive campaign. The ways players interact with each other create an inherent imbalance with the way like you initiate combat. Like the person who initiates is at a disadvantage. If you fire second, you deal normal damage. It's just all these kind of weird mechanical things that make no sense in concept.
It was like the most contradictory. And I mean, we were aware of this from when they announced the fucking game. Do you remember the announcement for this game? Didn't go over great.
No.
Nobody was very happy with all the decisions that were being made. And we thought, and like kind of rightfully so, because I remember being online like the day after it happened. I think we might have talked about it like 2 days after they dropped it.
Yeah.
We were like, well, the internet is saying like whatever good that means. The internet's like, well, you know, it's Todd Howard. He listens to the community. And he didn't. Like, everyone was like, we're really fucking concerned about this game, dude. Like, everything you're saying is not sounding great. The nukes aren't sounding like a lot of fun. Like, the griefing doesn't sound like a lot of fun. And they started assuring, like, no, don't worry. We got something. This is going to come together. Trust us. Well, motherfucker, you put out the game and it's nothing. It's like an empty plate. People, like you said, people were jazzed about the idea of playing a multiplayer game in like an existing Fallout map, you know? Like, it would be awesome if I played a multiplayer game in Fallout 3's map with everything that Fallout 3 has to offer. That sounds like a lot of fun. What doesn't sound like a lot of fun is if you took out everything that was in Fallout 3, save for the empty buildings and robots, and threw like 13 people into that map. That sounds really fucking boring.
Yeah, it sounds like if you want to do the quest is basically a series of errands that you run to go and like pick stuff up and bring it to a robot. Because again, no NPCs. It's reading a lot and listening to a lot. If you want to do that with another person, then suddenly you have to like stop playing the game because you have to listen to something, because you can't listen to something that's telling you about the quest and listen to another player on mic at the same time. It sounds like once the quest is over, then it's like, oh, well, you can like build your camp, but the building system is worse than it was in Fallout 4 for all these other reasons. There are all kinds of problems with a Fallout game that can't slow time down or pause when you craft, to use VATS, which has been one of like the coolest
the staples
mechanics
in past 8 years of gaming.
Yeah, that's suddenly gone. Everything you liked about Fallout, like the way you interact with the world and the story and the way everything kind of supports itself and the unique gameplay and gunplay and all that stuff, they just changed it. It's crazy.
They tried to like, so I think the reasoning was, okay, we made Skyrim online and it is decently popular. Like, it's okay. I know people who play Skyrim online or Oblivion or what the fuck it's called, Elder Scrolls Online.
Okay.
And it's okay, like it works for what it is, sure, fine. And then they saw that and they're like, okay, cool, now let's do that with Fallout. Here's the fucking problem though. Fallout and Skyrim or Oblivion, whatever, they're not the same game. They don't play the fucking same. Fallout comes from a pedigree of what the fuck is that? What the fuck are those games called? Where you have to like wait your turn. Turn-based. Thank you. Thanks, Tyler. It comes from a lineage of turn-based games, and so it has a little bit of those turn-based elements still in the modern game. That's essentially what VATS is like a 3D modern rendition of like what a turn-based game kind of looks like in like first person. If you take that away, the game ceases to really be Fallout kind of at that point. If you take away that like turn-based RPG elements, like truly, it's not the same game. And kind of a lot of the quests with regular Fallout games, a lot of it is fetch questing too, some of it, but it's cool because at the end of it, you get to see something happen. You get to have an interaction with the character, and maybe that character gives you something. Maybe that character will follow you around and guard your ass, or maybe that character will just have a funny interaction, like accidentally blowing up, or like getting vaporized, or a bunch of people come over and ambush him because what you just gave that character is super important, and there you go, now you're thrown into like another fight. And I'm not 100% sure that none of that stuff exists in Fallout 76, but I'd be willing to wager that it doesn't, or else it probably wouldn't have as bad of reviews as it does. It's empty. It's an empty game. And I'm going to play it. I do not look forward to playing it at all. And that is a sad, sad thing to say for me, who is such a fucking big Fallout fan, that here you go. Here's this shit game that's going to really make us... I guarantee you this game is going to make them overthink the next one. The next one's probably not going to be that great either. I've seen it before. Every time a game developer stumbles like this, 9 times out of 10, the next game that follows up is almost just as bad because they just start panicking. And so now I'm not excited to see what the next Fallout's going to be. And it's probably going to be a while because Todd Howard and Bethesda's already said, like, what we've got in the pipeline is some star shooter bullshit. I can't fucking remember. I don't care. And the next Skyrim or next Oblivion, whatever. Which I've seen some stuff where it looks totally fine. It looks totally adequate. I don't know any actual details about it, so I can't really make a comment. But doesn't look like we're gonna get another Fallout for at least like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah. Damn, man.
Like fuck.
I'm curious when we circle back and talk about it more. I'm curious how much character the world has. I don't mean that like character like NPCs or characters.
No, yeah, like the actual
like this is
environment.
Right, like personality and like this is kind of what we're talking about. Like, yeah, even though Fallout 3 and 4 was a lot of like, go over here and talk to this person, go on to this other side of the map so you can pick up this part or comic book or whatever that I need. Like you were rewarded with those kind of little like flares of personality of the world. Like if, you know, like you had to, if the robot was like rewired or whatever from what you did, suddenly there was this little quirk and it realized dun.
Yeah. You just paused for a second. You froze.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. So you had to go over, get the comic books, and you got like these little flares of personality, and then you cut out.
Yeah, and you'd bring them back, and the world would kind of give you, like, just it would kind of expand a little more, and you'd get that cool item, you'd unlock another quest with a companion or something.
Right, exactly.
And so I'm curious if, like, because the reviews didn't mention this, and it worries me. Like, they didn't really mention a lot of tone of where, like, Fallout's kind of capitalizing on the like boomer 50s kind of like heyday America kind of vibe with the radio station and the songs and the music and the way everyone talks and stuff. I didn't hear much about any of that. So I'm curious.
Well, here's what I'm worried is that it's just kind of standard operating procedure for Fallout at this point, and maybe that shit fell to the wayside and people are just so frustrated with the actual game that they forgot to mention it. What sucks is the map looks pretty fucking cool. It seems cool to kind of go into West Virginia that was very like secluded and kind of protected from the actual destruction of the war. It seems cool. Like that part of the country doesn't really get a lot of like attention, and it would be cool to explore like portions of that map, because I think what Fallout does really well, and we're kind of running out of time on our Fallout section here, but like what Fallout did really well with the character of the maps is it really kind of brings to life like a part of the United States. And you really do. I really felt like I was in Nevada. Like, I've spent a lot of my childhood in Nevada. I've spent a lot of my childhood in Vegas. Like, I know what that city feels like. They got it pretty good. Like, it does really feel like Vegas in the 50s. Like, I spent a lot of my childhood in Washington, D.C. too, especially when that game came out. I was traveling to D.C. like every couple months. So I know that city like fairly well. It really feels like Washington, D.C. I was living in Boston at the time Fallout 4 came out. I was very fortunate. For some reason, all the Fallout games just sort of like followed me around the country. But I was living in Boston at the time. Like, I went to where my apartment would be, and it was a crater. But like, I knew where Alston was. You know, I knew where BU would be. It just felt like Boston, and I've never been to West Virginia ever, and I was super excited when they said West Virginia because I was like, finally, a city that I don't know, like, at all. A part of the country that I don't know at all, so I want to see what that looks like. It's such a bummer that even if it's, like, a beautiful fucking map and there's a bunch of just really cool, like, iconic, like parts of West Virginia, I guess, I will probably be so distracted by how garbage the rest of the game is that I won't be able to fully like enjoy it. And that kind of sucks. That sucks for West Virginia. They kind of got a raw deal. Here's their chance to like be immortalized in kind of a cool video game, and
yeah, it just feels like there's nothing tying you to the world as the player. Like there's no story that's, you know, taking you past all of these landmarks that whether you know or not. Like, Fallout games have like kind of a cool like relationship with history that's really fun. Like, it's so cool. In Fallout 3 you get Lincoln repeat, like the Lincoln repeater.
Lincoln repeater. You can steal the Declaration of Independence. Like, there's something goofy about that, and it's cool, like going to the mall and being like, hey, this actually like kind of looks like the mall. It's pretty good. And so, I guess you're right. Like, why would I want to go all the way into like the woods of West Virginia if I know there's nothing in there?
Right.
Like, there's nothing really driving you to explore. That sucks.
Damn. Well, okay. This is a good segue. Speaking of driving to explore, Red Dead 2. I'm still in the heart of the story, and it is...
1 second. You said you had just... Minor, not even a spoiler, but you said you had just robbed a vessel.
Yes, there is a riverboat.
Yes, I hate to break it to you. You're maybe a little over halfway done.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah. You got a little whiles to go. There's one section coming up that I need to get your opinion on. The second it happens, you need to put down the controller and text me either like, this is an awesome decision, or like, what the fuck just fucking happened, because there's a lot of talk and I have kind of a strong opinion on it. So I'm really fucking excited for you to get to that part of the game, and then I'm really excited for you to get to like the last level, because one of my favorite moments overall in the entire game happened, and it really made me feel like a cowboy. It really did kind of make me feel like a fucking like John Wayne, Clint Eastwood type like cowboy. So I'm excited for you to finally get there at some point.
Okay. Well, I literally am taking the afternoon off work tomorrow, and I have no plans, so I'm literally just driving home after work and playing video
Put in
games.
a solid like 8 hours, and you'll probably be like most of the way through if you just hammer out the campaign.
Yeah, but it is like, it's kind of hard to play the game like that, and I have been doing it, but there is always a tug of like someone calling out for you. Here's a stranger quest. Here's a like way you can collect.
I know
a debt, and like, it's cool for that. And I know I'm like, you know, not playing the game the way they would hope I would, of just kind of like rushing through the story. But man, the tug of everything else is really real.
Here's what I'll say, because by a little bit further past where you got, I actually started to feel like a little frustrated with the game, and started just being like, okay, I'm just going to really try and focus on the story, because I'm very invested in the story at this point, and so I want to see where this ends. Honestly, I'm starting on my second playthrough now, and I'm doing all the shit that I missed the first time. Doesn't really diminish any of that extra shit at all if you do it the second time. Like, it feels just as like fun and entertaining entertaining to play through it a second time. So if you're worried if you're like missing out on anything, like it's nothing that you won't be able to go back and finish and still get a very fulfilling experience with.
Okay, because that is kind of
if that puts your mind at ease.
That is what I'm thinking. Like, if at the end of this, it's a situation where I'm just roaming around the West, finding strangers and having all these little random encounters, is that going to feel?
No, like if don't do it that way. Honestly, boot it up a second time, because by the time you are done with the full mission, it has been so fucking long since the beginning that it's like playing the game over again. It honestly is. I'm like, oh yeah, I vaguely remember this mission. Let me sit down and really pay attention to it now. And wow, I got a completely different experience from it this time around. So like, it's good. It's good in that part, because like the game is thankfully so long that you can actually go back and kind of have a new experience playing it, because when you're at the very beginning of the game, you're such shit, like you're such a pile of steaming garbage at the game that like you play it. By the time you're done if you just do nothing but the campaign, like Nathan Drake style, and just like blow through that game like a Naughty Dog game, you will be so good at killing and shooting and horseback riding and cowboying and yeehawing by the fucking end of the game that when you go back and play at the beginning of the game, you really feel just like, okay, I'm in control of this right now. And like my second playthrough, I can already tell is going to be more enjoyable than my first playthrough.
Wow.
For sure.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
So
if you are worried about that at all, like don't even.
Okay. So you're spending a lot more time on your second playthrough kind of messing around, stopping to smell the roses a little more.
Oh yeah.
Are you doing the stranger stuff and the encounter stuff?
Yeah, stranger stuff, encounter stuff. I'm collecting bounties. I'm collecting all those legendary skins and fish that I totally disregarded that first playthrough. Like, I'm damn good at hunting now. Like, I feel like a predator. I feel like the predator when I'm in the woods. I'll just go. I'll be at camp. I'll do a couple chores, make sure everyone's fed, and I'll be like, all right, see you in 2 weeks. And then I bounce into the fucking woods. It's really cool when you're like in the woods and you're hunting like, I don't know, cougars or whatever, and you're completely alone in the woods, and then on your radar you see some bounty hunters in the area, and they start like poking around and like searching for you, and all you have is like your bow or maybe like the Springfield rifle or something like that, which only fires one shot, or like a tomahawk, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna take these guys. And you get down low and you go into the bushes and you're like in the trees and stuff like that, and you hear them like talking and stuff. You just shoot a bow and one of them drops, like, what the fuck? And then it just kicks off. It really does feel like I feel like a predator. Like when I'm in,
dude,
I haven't felt that like badass and like guerrilla warriors since like Far Cry 3, where you're like just in the jungle and you shoot a bow and drop someone, you slit someone's throat. Like it really kind of does feel like that, except with like a Winchester rifle and you know, a pistol with 6 shots, and that's all you got because your horse is a mile away because you've been tracking that deer for an hour.
Shit, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
It gets pretty fun. Like once you actually like understand the game by the end of it, and maybe that's why I felt like such a cowboy at that part that's at the very end of the game. Which, god damn it, I wish you could get there because I can't tell you what it is because it's definitely a spoiler. But
yeah, you're hyping this up so much.
It's such a small moment, but for some reason it resonated so well with me that it's gonna sound really lame, but I got chills.
Dude, no.
While I was playing it. Yeah, well, it was pretty fucking good. So hurry up, please fucking finish, because I want to talk about it so much.
But have your overall impressions, like, did they change a lot as you were playing through it? Did something start out as annoying that got better? Did something, you know, get worse as you went on? I'm curious from your kind of like 10,000 foot.
Are you talking about like the plot wise, like character development, or like mechanics wise?
Mechanically and the kind of open world stuff.
Mechanically, yeah, like a lot of shit got better. Like I said, you get a handle for shit by the end of it. By the time you play the game, again, if you just do it Naughty Dog style, you put in 60 hours. That's like a fair amount for most people to like get good at a game. And you get pretty good. Like, I know where all my weapons are. I know what they're loaded with. I know where all the shit for my horse is. Like, me and my horse, man, that thing is like a Ferrari. I take care of it. I change its fucking oil. I brush that motherfucker. I let it go swimming in the river. Like, I am very aware of my horse's, like, my horse, you know. If my horse has got a temperature, I know how to like soothe it, like give a menthol. Like I'm very aware of this animal, and if you take care of that horse will take care of you. Like it really does. Sometimes the horse pisses me off and does stupid ass shit. I've said it once and I will say it again. I have never had a video game horse that I've liked, like ever, and you've just disappeared from the screen right now. There you go, you're back. But I've never had a horse in a video game that I'm like, oh, I loved. This is the best thing ever. The horse is good, and if you take care of the horse, it'll take care of you. But that don't mean it won't stumble into a fucking tree and send you flying off a cliff from time to time at like the most inopportune fucking moment.
Yeah, the one point of advice that I gave someone who's even more behind than I am is it pays in a real way to get a fast horse in the game. Like your horse really matters. In the original game, some horses were definitely faster than others, but it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
Some missions early on were really challenging because my horse
have a solid horse
wasn't that fast. And I was like just pacing it out because it was just running out of gas.
Yeah, pretty much. Like he'll die. Like if you ride him too hard, he'll die.
Yeah.
Luckily, I sort of cheesed it a little bit. I paid an extra $10 for like the okay edition of Red Dead Redemption, and with that okay edition, you get a fairly decent horse like from the start. They're like, here you go. You paid 10 extra bucks. Here's like your steed. And me and Peppermint, that's what I call her. me and Peppermint, awesome. We've been together for hours now, and I love Peppermint, and Peppermint loves me. And it's cool, just like, I normally don't ever really like getting anything unique from like paying for the experience, but something about this horse is just like, well, she's an okay horse. She's fast, but her acceleration is not great, but you can work on that. And if you stick with her, like she'll be a really great horse. And because I've been taking the second playthrough so slow, I'm just about to get into chapter 3. Like I'm just about to leave that one town. I don't want to spoil it. I'm just about to hit chapter 3, and me and my horse are like fucking this, we're tight.
Yeah.
Like my horse's stamina's all the way up. Like she trusts me completely. Peppermint and I were going places, and I'm gonna try. I didn't lose a single horse in the last game, and I do not plan on losing Peppermint now. God damn it.
That's cool. I know people have been done dirty by like buying horses and riding it back to camp. They get ambushed, their horse gets shot and dies. But I like the game for all that. I like it for the unpredictability. I was trying to complete a mission, and the law was chasing me out of town because I ran into a pedestrian. It was super annoying. The law chased me all the way out of town, and in trying to shake them, I went off the path and into this bog, and I was on a new horse, and just out of nowhere, a croc rears up out of the water. I was screwed. My horse rears up. I get thrown off. My horse runs away, and now I'm in the middle of this bog. The cops are closing in behind me. I got this croc in front of me. I fucking died real hard.
Shit. I've only gotten killed by one croc alligator, and I was just like, I was doing the same thing. I was hunting a Florida panther, one of the most elusive predators in the game. I had my bow with me. It was dusk. I was looking for eyes, and like a fucking idiot, I was just walking along, not paying attention. I step on this motherfucker's tail. He just whips his head around, grabs me, crunches me in half, and shakes me, and I was dead. And I was like, God damn it! Like I freaked out. I like dropped the controller. It's like this fucking thing just destroyed me, and that's the only time I've been killed by an alligator. But it was such a cool scene. Like I was like, all right, I'm gonna be very quiet. This thing fucking just tears my head off. God damn it,
man! It's so cool.
It is. There's a lot of those moments in the game.
Yeah, I can't wait to open it up. Even when we were just kind of like messing around before the first episode. I had one of those random encounters where a guy got sick in the middle of the road, and I'm rushing to get him to the hospital. And on my way, like ran into someone in the street and like didn't stop and take care of them, and like just raced to the doctor. Law comes after me, and they enter the doctor's office to look for me, and I duck under a counter, and I was like, okay, this is kind of like a make or break moment in the game where I know they can't see me. Like, I know if like that is like a person, they wouldn't see me. But since it's a video game, is it going to get gamey here? And they're going to be like, oh, well, like our thing like walked within 10 feet of you, so you're caught. Mm-hmm. I like stayed and like hid behind the counter. The guy like enters the store and he like looks around. He asks the freaking doctor if he's seen anyone that like matches my description. Doctor fucking homie was like, no man, no one here. And the guy was like, okay, cool. And he left. And then it was over. And then they were like, yeah, they stopped investigating. It was like, sweet.
That's
like got
awesome.
It was so cool. And then I went out to my horse and the guy was dead because I didn't get him in time.
Yeah, well, unfortunate, but you know.
But that was like the icing on the cake. It was like, oh shit, like something could go wrong on the way when this guy needed help, and I could fail it. Like I failed it because of this whole random thing, and like things went to shit.
Yeah,
and then the game,
the thing is, you could have shot your way out and maybe saved the guy, but you're like, was it really worth it? Like, do I really want to get into a shootout over this dumb guy that it's nice that I'm helping him, but am I really gonna like ruin my next 20 minutes because this guy's sick? You know? And so it's the same thing. I was riding, and I just killed the legendary wolf in the like Wyoming Spring area of like
cool.
the thing, and I was like, I felt so successful. It was a good hunt. I'd skinned it, put the skin on, I'd taken its corpse, like thrown it on the back of my horse, tied it up, and so I was riding as fast as I could to the nearest like trapper. And I don't know if you know about trappers, but there's only a few of them throughout the entire map. And so the one that I needed to go to was like really far away, but it was unfortunately like the closest one to me. And so I'm riding, and I'm like, all right, don't die. I don't want to lose this carcass or whatever. Mm-hmm. Out of nowhere, Javier Escuela rides up and he's like, Arthur, like they have Bill Williamson. I need your help getting him back. And then it's just random. And it's like, accept, decline. And I'm like, all right, let's risk it. And so I was like, accept. And I go on to this shootout to get Bill Williamson back, who got drunk and got fucking arrested by some bounty hunters. And I made it out of there. Like I ambushed them. I used my bow. I slit some throats, got him the fuck out of there, got the corpse to the like trapper. It was totally worth it. But it was a cool like moment where I was like, fuck, I really don't want to miss this opportunity to maybe see something cool here because this did not happen on my last playthrough, but I also don't want to lose the wolf carcass. And I'm like, fuck it, let's risk it.
Man, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this game's awesome. I'm excited to take it through to the end of the story. That's always kind of that's what I know most about and think most about with games, and I'm excited to see how this one plays out.
Yeah, dude. I think I'm excited to get your opinion on it because it's kind of gotten some like, well, not too mixed, but from the people that I've talked to, it's somewhat mixed. I just want your opinion on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I
won't say anymore.
I haven't read any spoilers. Thank goodness. But
good.
Don't
worry your pretty little face about it.
All right. Okay, well, I think we're gonna keep it safe for now. Let's end on a little bit of a little catch up. What we've been watching, kind of a grab bag of sorts. I did not take you to be a Narcos fan, but you're into the show.
I've talked about Narcos a couple times. I am a big Narcos fan. I really like period pieces like that, especially like action, like military period pieces, because I feel like they just have a lot to offer. And this isn't necessarily military, but it's it's about the DEA. Oh, well, the show, if anyone hasn't seen Narcos, it's on Netflix, and the show originally centers around the hunt for Pablo Escobar, who, if you were living under a rock, was a colossal drug dealer in the late 70s and 80s, towards the early 90s, who pretty much ruled the cocaine industry in the entire world and operated outside of Medellin, Colombia. And so it's a very interesting story how the U.S. government, with the help of the Colombians, eventually hunted him down and killed him. And so the first two seasons are sort of dedicated to that. Rave reviews. A lot of people really liked it. What the fuck's his name? Pedro Pascal, who of Game of Thrones fame, is one of the main characters in the first three seasons, actually. Boyd Holbrook, I think that's his last name, is the main character in the first two seasons. I know you don't really like him all that much, and he's hit or miss with me, but I really like him as an actor, and I think he does a good job as an actor. So I don't necessarily like his character, but I like the actor, and he did a good job with the role. Cool. And Wagner Moura plays Pablo Escobar, and he got like rave reviews. I think he might have actually even won an Emmy for it. But he is a Brazilian actor who was really dedicated and learned Spanish with a Colombian accent in order to play the character of Pablo Escobar, who, they speak Portuguese in Brazil, so he had to learn a completely different language.
Wow.
And so the first 2 seasons are quite good, but the 3rd season, in my personal opinion, is a departure. Because spoiler alert, Pablo Escobar fucking dies. I don't know how people didn't know that watching the show. People were really bummed. Like, oh, he died? Yeah. Like, it happened like 20 years ago. So the 3rd season's a little bit of like a departure from that, but in my personal opinion, is probably the best. 4th season, not that good.
Oh.
It's okay. It sucks because it was really like shaping up to be like a very, very good season, and the 2 main actors did a really good job. It's Michael Pena and Diego Luna. And Michael Pena has been getting a lot of traction later. Did you know he's a Scientologist? Because I just found that out. I know.
Are you serious?
I don't know. I don't know if that episode got lost in the ether of my old hard drive, but I had that bit of a spiel about Tom Cruise and why I think that guy is fucking insane and should not work in Hollywood, but he constantly gets roles. And so Michael Pena is also a Scientologist.
Dude, I'm kind of shaken up by that. I love him.
I know, right? Me too. I was like reading his Wikipedia bio because I was like, is he actually Mexican? Because he does it very well. And he was born in the U.S., but his parents were Mexican. And at the very, very end, it's like, yeah, he's Mexican. He does Mexican things. He has 3 Mexican kids. Oh yeah, he's a Scientologist. I was like, fuck.
Damn it.
I know, right?
No.
Yeah, I know. It just it makes me question like, why, dude? Like, you seem like a smart guy. You seem like you've got your head on your shoulders. Why join this weird cult? Like, I don't understand, you know? But whatever. In any case, he does a really good job with the role. And him and Diego Luna are probably the 2 best parts of it. There's one other actor who I cannot remember his name, but he plays sort of like an older Don. I believe his character's name is Don Neto. I'm sorry, dude, if you're listening, but I completely forget your name. But you did a very good job, and you should be proud of what you did. He did really good too. But the season's okay. It's total like spin-off. It takes place in Mexico during like the early to mid 80s, during when the cartels were really like ramping up. Someone who grew up like not too far away from the border. I think even you grew up closer to the border than I fucking did. And I've been through Mexico plenty of times. I just got back from there driving. Like, they got the feel of it pretty good. Like, when you cross the border, because a lot of people in the United States don't fucking know. There are only a couple states, it's us, California, New Mexico, and Texas, that border Mexico. It is like palpable. Like, you can see when you cross the US border by car, you literally see where the buck stops. It's like you could step up to the border, look one way and just see like miles of fence, look another way, see miles of fence. Ahead of you is, I love Mexico, it's a beautiful fucking country, but it's got some socioeconomic problems, let's be real here, is a shithole. And behind you is like a normal fucking city, and you're like, what is happening here at this particular spot on the planet that like gives such a contrast between these 2 worlds? And like, it is a very interesting, if you ever get a chance to drive across the Mexican border, I recommend you do it, because it's very eye-opening, like exactly kind of what goes on between our 2 countries. And the show, for what it's worth, really captures that like super well. Like, I'm not an expert on Mexico. I've been there quite a few times, and my Spanish is okay. But I know kind of what the feel of Mexico is like, at least on the border anyway, like border towns. I know like what Nogales looks like, and I know like what people from Nogales sound like and probably think like. And the show does a pretty decent job of capturing that, I would say. Pretty well, and that's definitely helped by all the really strong performances. Everything about the show has kind of got it going for it, except the plot is kind of like boring. Sorry, you know, everything about the show is pretty good except for the plot, which is pretty mediocre, and so it brings the whole thing down. Okay,
but you can enter into this season without having seen the Escobar story, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can do that with season 3 as well. I would recommend watching season, if you're just going to go in blind and you don't want to commit to a 2-season like thing with Pablo Escobar, and you want to get into Narcos, just watch season 3. Season 4 is not that great. It's really it's very entertaining at some parts, but
yeah,
it's not that great. And so I would recommend watching the first 3 seasons for sure. And if you're like really into it, like I really like Narcos, watch the 4th season. I found myself checking my phone a lot, which is not a good signal that it's, very captivating.
Got it. For my portion of the kind of what we've been watching catch up, the one TV show I've looked at recently, we're kind of in the heart of award season and Oscar season for movies, so that's been most of my time, but I did get a chance to look at Homecoming on Amazon. This is the Sam Esmail series based on, believe it or not, a fictional podcast that came out a couple years ago. The podcast had David Schwimmer and Oscar Isaac and Catherine Keener. The show has Julia Roberts, and that's kind of where all their money went. So
I was about to say, what has she been doing lately? I haven't really seen her in anything.
Dude, she is really good on this show.
Interesting. She was a great actress back in her day, but she sort of just took some time off, I guess, which is fine. I just haven't seen her around since like Ocean's 13, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Anyway.
Maybe.
No, this show is super good. Sam Esmail made Mr. Robot, which was
great show.
Yeah, really good show. Was it? It was USA, right? Really random.
Yeah, USA. Surprisingly, USA had like a brief period of like invincibility with like things like Royal Pains and White Collar and Mr. Robot. They were like kicking ass for quite some time.
Yeah, they had a good little run.
Yeah,
but he made the jump to Amazon and kind of made this like 70s paranoia conspiracy thriller with Julia Roberts. It's awesome. It's really good. It's really low commitment, which makes it easy to recommend. It's 10 25-minute episodes, and it's like an intense, really smart drama. It's easy to spoil, so I won't say too much about it, but it's about a doctor at sort of like an experimental facility to treat veterans for PTSD. And so she's kind of a counselor to this one veteran, and their relationship sort of creates a lot of intrigue around exactly the nature of the facility and, classic kind of 70s paranoia, like can't trust the system kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Okay. So it's kind of like a 70s version of like Stranger Things, the way that Stranger Things like does that for the 80s.
Well, yeah, like don't get me wrong, like it has no like relation to Stranger Things in terms of like plot.
Well, no, I know. I meant like of like feel, like kind of the authenticity of what Stranger Things did for the 80s. Like Stranger Things feels very authentically 80s. Like what you're saying is this feels very authentically like 70s.
Yeah, it's very hardcore 70s and like point of view. It's very like Parallax View, Dog Day Afternoon, like that kind of stuff. It's really cool.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah. And then the one movie, it hasn't been my favorite season for movies so far.
No, not really. Kind of a boring year, honestly.
Yeah, a lot of the sort of prestige contenders that I've seen just haven't really hit the spot, and the blockbusters have been pretty poor, honestly. Like, we're headed into Thanksgiving, and you're gonna have a chance to see a Harry Potter movie that is not that good, a Rocky movie that's like
neither was the last one, so
yeah, it sucked. But the one movie I think I can recommend to literally anybody is Widows. Widows is a Steve McQueen movie. This guy made 12 Years a Slave.
Damn, I fucking love Steve McQueen.
Dude, this movie is super good. It is a straight to your chest pulp heist movie. The widows, their husbands are all bank robbers, and they all got busted. And so they decide, as the widows of all their dead husbands, they're going to finish the score. And that's the movie.
That's cool. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like a good version of Ocean's 9 or 8 or whatever garbage that fucking was. That just, I don't know why Hollywood keeps doing that. They're just cashing in on like political moment. But that sounds like a good version of that.
Yeah, it is a high intensity, high drama Ocean's 8. Like it is not glitzy, it is not glamorous. It is like It is really rough and raw. The cast is awesome. Viola Davis is the lead. She's the How to Get Away with Murder star. Super good TV actress. Carrie Coon plays a bit part. She's a great TV actress. Liam Neeson is in this.
Go
he's
figure.
A super good part. Yeah, and then you got Brian Tyree Henry, who's Paperboy on Atlanta. You have Daniel Kaluuya, who's the lead in Get Out. He's awesome. He actually plays an enforcer and a bad guy. So he's like totally shifted from being like our hero leading man to like a very intense and scary villain. Michelle Rodriguez from Fast and Furious is in this.
Banging. I have I don't know why, but I have a super big crush on Michelle Rodriguez. Michelle, if you're listening, call me.
Dude, this movie, it's a good showcase for her. It's a good showcase.
Good for her. Good for her. I'm glad she's still getting roles. Love you,
but if you're just going to the movies looking for a banger, it's go to Widows. It's
cool, man.
Awesome.
I might check that out this weekend because my girlfriend and I have been like, what do you want to see? And then we're like, there's nothing out to watch. So
yeah, and it's a good girlfriend movie too. The writer is Steve McQueen co-wrote it with
his girlfriend. Go figure.
He wrote it with Gillian Flynn, who wrote the Sharp Objects miniseries and Gone Girl, and has been kind of like adapting a lot of her own stuff, but she's worked with David Fincher and John Mark Vallée and all these Steve McQueen, like all these great directors now.
Yeah, man, good for her. She's like a solid writer.
Yeah, and this one is nice and like, pulpy and fun, but because it's a Steve McQueen movie, there's also a lot of kind of like I've seen it twice, and the second time I was like, oh shoot, I didn't pick that up the first time. Like, they're really saying something. Okay. Oh, like cool. I see why they shot it that way. They were really trying to communicate something. Like there's a surface level version of the movie that is awesome and it's so good. Mm-hmm. But on the second time, I kind of had this second experience. I was like, ooh, whoa, okay, like this was even better than I thought the first time.
I love that. I love when there's like a reason behind like a shot or a way that a scene is dressed or something like that you don't pick up like right away. I always love that.
Yeah. Oh shit! You know who else is in it? Colin Farrell and Robert Duvall.
I really don't like Colin Farrell, but I do like Robert Duvall. No, I don't like him. He's kind of just a schmarmy asshole. He's a schmarmy kind of like greasy douche in everything he plays.
Well, dude, guess what kind of man he is in this movie? He's a schmarmy asshole.
Yeah, exactly. That's all he can play, man. Like, Jesus, diversify, do something. Well, listen, he does it well, but like I can only watch you do that so many times before I'm like, all right, Colin, I get it.
Well, I thought he was well cast.
Okay.
All right, let's put a bow on the episode though. That is Narcos Mexico, which you can check out on Netflix. You can find Homecoming on Amazon Video, and Widows is out in theaters. There's a lot of Thanksgiving options. I think it's the clearest one. Like your mom will like it, your dad will like it. It's super good.
Cool. I'm definitely gonna check it out.
All right, that's that. Let's wrap it up. That'll do it for this episode. We have some pending things still with where to find us, but Emilio, if people want to find you or the podcast, where can they do that?
For now, it's still YouTube, guys. Dude, is this thing on? SoundCloud has very limited. I wouldn't even check SoundCloud until we get it like linked, everything like linked up with iTunes. But you can also find us on Facebook, Ditto, or Dude, is this thing on? And then Tyler, where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Tyler Daswick, and that's where I post all of my culture writing from relevantmagazine.com. You can find my review of Widows there, and my next piece I think will be a review of Creed, which was pretty good. They do some interesting stuff with Drago, so that
interesting. I wasn't too excited about that movie, honestly. I thought the first one was plenty. I was like Michael B. Jordan, so I was definitely gonna go see it, but I just wasn't that excited about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a step down from the first one, which I kind of
figured.
Super well, like the first one also is super well made.
It's a good movie,
really good. Second one's fine. I don't think I'd pay to see it though.
Oh well, all right. That answers that question for me. Okay, well I got a split, so.
Okay,
I guess
that'll do it for this episode. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.